All right, I seem to be live, so I'm going to go ahead and just start. If you are out there and want to chat with me, I believe I can see your chats. I'm going to reopen Facebook just to make sure that I can see the chats going on as well. Tonight's going to be a little bit different, not doing my usual where I'm talking pro wrestling or anything like that. Just kind of wanted to talk about stuff like watched Cobra Kai season 1 over again. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend doing so. It seems I've got at least one comment in Facebook already, so let me see if I can get to that. And I am doing wonderfully. Apparently trying to keep this live and everything else is becoming harder and harder of a thing to do. So I'm going to try to make sure that I can see the chat. I'm just gonna try to post in the chat. Okay, so if you're watching me on Facebook, for whatever reason, it's not actually following over to Facebook in the chat and everything else. So I will probably turn the Facebook live side off going forward. Tonight, I had created brand new graphics again and everything to do this little broadcast that I like to call Potsy BSing about pop culture. So if you have questions or anything about pop culture, feel free to join in with the chat, because I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But just as of about 30 minutes ago, TikTok has been sold. At least their American side of it has been sold to a company called Oracle. It's a software company. Don't really know too much about it, but I do know that Microsoft was in the bidding, and they decided not to go with Microsoft with it. So that's pretty big news worldwide when it comes to social media, social networking, because obviously the Trump administration wanted to have Microsoft be in control of the program, and it's not going to be the case. Fine Shrines. Rob a Bob. Okay, so I saw that comment. Um, yeah, so as I was just saying, TikTok is technically, I guess the proceedings will go in, and they will be selling the American side of that company, so that way it does not have its information sold to the Chinese, which is cool if you ask me. And then the other big news that I have heard today is that season 11 will be the last season of The Walking Dead. So if you are a Walking Dead fan, uh, I would say your goodbyes now, because characters like Daryl and Carol and all of your favorites um, will be going by the wayside. Now, that's actually not fully true, because apparently AMC has also already announced that they have a new spin-off series. Obviously, one has already been announced, but then they've got a second spin-off series that's supposed to be coming, which is supposed to involve Daryl and Carol. So anybody who is a fan of The Walking Dead will at least be able to see Norman Reedus and uh, can't remember what her first name is, but Pelletier, in a new Walking Dead series. Obviously, this would take place, I believe, after the Rick Grimes movies, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Yes, and Michael, as you just stated, the movies with Rick Grimes are still coming. So they still have the Fear the Walking Dead show. They've got the World Beyond show that's coming up. That's a 2-season miniseries that they've got planned. And then, of course, now they're going to have a series that is all based on Carol, Daryl, and I guess a new cast of characters. So that's going to be pretty interesting for those that are actually still watching The Walking Dead. I know that I really haven't paid much attention to it recently, and don't really don't really have any intentions of doing so. While I get started, I want to go ahead and say, hey, if you're watching on Twitch, please go ahead and follow the page. It'd be great to get up to affiliate status. Just need like 42 more people, which is quite telling, in fact, of how hard this actually is to get yourselves out there. And then, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, so that way we can make sure that we've got more content coming. Obviously, we've got the Monday night show, Potsy and Tino show, brought to you live every Monday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What did you think of the Batman preview? Well, Michael, I guess since this is going to be my pop culture talk, the Batman preview that we saw from DC Fandom, which apparently is a trailer that was done completely from only 25% of the movie being filmed, kind of reminded me of a good David Lynch or David Fincher style thriller / detective movie. So I felt that was something where I really felt that the way that they could go with that is, if they go with the detective route of it, it would be really nice to see them do that with a Batman movie, because most Batman films to date have been, with the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher ones, obviously all campy and popcorny. With the Christopher Nolan ones, they've all been kind of dark and moody, but not necessarily involving the detective side of stuff. Just basically being action movies more than anything else. Although definitely deep in story and puzzling, I would say. So Matt Reeves seems to be taking a different approach to it. He's saying it's a Batman Year 2 story, and with it being a Batman Year 2 style story, I think that it has every possibility of being the Batman movie we didn't know we needed, especially after getting the Snyder cuts of Batman v Superman and Justice League. both Whedon and Snyder, and obviously the Snyder cut coming next year. So it's interesting because I think this Batman will be completely different, and anybody who's liked the previous incarnations, I don't know if you will actually like this incarnation, but I do think that it's something that is going to be interesting in and of itself, because we don't really know what to expect from it. So I'm kind of excited about that. What are your guys' opinions? You are more than welcome to reply in the chats and let me know what you're thinking there. Um, while we're on the subject of Batman, more news came out. As a lot of people probably already know, both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are set to reprise the role of Bruce Wayne slash Batman in the Flash movie that's coming up, and um, and interestingly enough, the information came out today that I read that now I believe Cinema Blend was saying that Brandon Routh may be brought in to be Superman in the film, similar to how he was both in Superman Returns and also in Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW network, which would kind of allow for a minor crossover between the characters all there, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting. But there's also news that Henry Cavill may be brought back to play Superman as well. So they are really trying to establish, if they go this route, they're really going to establish the multiverse side of the DC extended universe. So all the movies, everything else that's really out there is really gonna be expanded upon, really thought out, and then this is also supposed to be a restart of said universe. So it's going to be something where they take everything that's come before it and then kind of close it off and start something brand new after. So even though Ezra Miller may be the Flash at the beginning of the film, there's a possibility that they recast the role by the end of the film. Now, I obviously don't think that's going to be the case because he has lobbied really hard to continue this character, this role. And then, of course, we also know that Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa are set to reprise their roles in their own films for obviously Wonder Woman 84 coming out now, but also for a second Aquaman film. So those films did well enough to garner a second or third movie in their place. So I don't see that not being the case going forward with that stuff. So I see them continuing to do that. But again, I would like everybody's opinions on what they think about that as well. We've got Michael sitting there saying he's up in the air about it, but you know him. Yes, Michael, I do know you. You seem more in line with just as long as they continue to make comic book movies, you're going to go see them. And if I've got you right there, you're just like me. I intend to go see whatever they put out. But the idea of the Flash and a Flashpoint movie does have me kind of intrigued, kind of looking forward to whatever they can really muster up with all that. So I am kind of excited to see where they go with it, and pretty pretty excited with the fact that now, knowing that the Snyder cut is coming, and I'm not even saying I'm a fan of that, but knowing that the Joss Whedon cut failed the way that it did, and yet they've still had success in the other parts of these movies, leads them to know that they do have some ability to succeed going forward, while also still trying to bring home something that was started to be a universe. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a 5 second flash into the new Batman film, but obviously we're getting Ben Affleck and we're getting Michael Keaton to reprise roles. So that's going to be pretty interesting. In fact, it seems really interesting after the fact that we already had Robert Wuhl from the Batman '89 universe in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and we already had Brandon Routh from the Christopher Reeve Superman universe in the TV series stuff, and obviously even Ezra Miller made an appearance in that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm pretty excited. I think that anybody who is a comic book fan has a lot to be excited for here, because we obviously know that there's money to be had in these universes, and they're doing something about it. So it's good to see that. Anybody that is in the chat, if you're out there, don't be shy. Say hi. I am able to read the Facebook messages, not able to reply to them in text form, but I am also able to see both the YouTube and the Twitch chats. So please, if you're out there, wanna chime in with any of this, please do. Otherwise, I'm probably going to get pretty boring. We have a lot of chat going on Monday nights, so that's always fun. But this would be something where we need to drive it home a little bit with this. Yeah, the Walking Dead information, them canceling the TV show, the new information about the possibility of Brandon Routh reprising the Superman role, and obviously he's even said after playing the role in Crisis on Infinite Earths, he's not going to close the door to that. So it is something that he would be interested in doing going forward, which is pretty awesome, because if you watched him as that character on Crisis on Infinite Earths, you realized that he really was well cast for that character. He really did make sense as Superman, and like at this point in his career, he really has grown into that role as well, which to me is pretty impressive and kind of cool. So there is all of that. The other things that I want to talk about tonight, I'm probably not going to be on here too long. I was kind of bored at home, so I wanted to state my opinions on some stuff that I've recently been privy to. One being the Cobra Kai first season. I just rewatched it. I've now watched it twice. If you have not watched it, it has no right being as good as it is. It has equal parts comedy. It has equal parts action. It has equal parts drama. Like they really worked well, both incorporating sequences from the original Karate Kid movie, and then also incorporating it into a 30 years later kind of situation. It's interesting knowing that Ralph Macchio is 58 at this point, and William Zabka is 54. To know that they are reprising these roles that they made very important to the 1980s, and it's interesting because the super wholesome Daniel LaRusso in Karate Kid is now very gray area. He's super successful. He's got a wife. He's got 2 kids. The son is probably the only part that I am super annoyed by in the entire TV show, because he doesn't take after either of his parents, and he's kind of just the standard millennial kid who knows that he can order stuff with the Amazon Alexa and does so, which is kind of weird and annoying. But like you really, after the initial movie of Karate Kid and even the beginning of Karate Kid 2, you really get an understanding that nothing happened with Johnny Lawrence after what he did there. Like at the beginning of the season, he's cleaning out gutters for somebody, and he's installing a TV, and he does it on the wrong wall, so of course he gets yelled at. But you see that this guy who was everything at the beginning of the first Karate Kid movie, including a bully, really hasn't done anything with his life, which is just shocking, kind of sad, and very, very eye-opening that like they immediately make you start feeling for this guy because of losing and having, at the beginning of Karate Kid 2, having his trophy destroyed and basically almost being killed by John Kreese, um, the sensei from the first movie. And you get this, like, initially you get this feeling that the whole show is supposed to be a comedy, because like when you first see Daniel LaRusso show back up, he's the guy on TV who owns multiple car dealerships, and he's kicking the competition, which is just funny to me. But at the same time, it sounds like something that somebody who had some sense of celebrityism there is able to take that and become, a car salesperson or a car dealership owner, and has made something out of himself. And now he's living in the hills, and he's got this great family, but yet he still has the ideals that, like, they call it a gimmick in there, like a wrestling gimmick almost, but they put it in there as, every time he sells a car, he gives away a bonsai tree, he's kicking the competition, and he's really going with the ideals of being somebody who has cheese and all of that to go with it. Whereas Johnny Lawrence is completely broken down, gets fired from his job, but he says, "You can't fire me, I quit." And then towards the end of the first episode, there's a kid that moved into the same housing the same apartment complex as Johnny, and he takes to the kid, even though, like, he's like, "Get away from me, kid," whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then he sees the kid getting bullied by the school kids and does something about it. And immediately after that, like, that's what lights this fire in his head that he's going to start back up Cobra Kai. He's going to start the karate dojo that made him something when he was in his teens. And now 30 years later, he's nothing. He's less than nothing. He's putting together nickels and pennies and everything, to really kind of roll with it. The guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a great actor. He's also a great cartoon voice actor. Plays his stepdad. And he's like, "I'm buying you out, kid." And he throws him a check and everything else. He's got his nurse there with him, so it's obviously a guy that's got money. It's a guy that is basically on his last legs. And again, it's an actor from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was the voice of J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man cartoon. I can't remember what his name is. If anybody knows, please chime in the chat. But he basically says, when your mom died, I said I'd always take care of you. But even at this point, I think she'd cut me some slack, kid. So I'm buying you out. And he gives him a check, and Johnny just rips the check up. And then later, Johnny takes the check, tapes it back together, takes it to the bank, and starts a karate dojo with it, and then pays him back towards the end of the season. But it's interesting to me because Daniel isn't the White Knight anymore. He's not the guy who would necessarily win Allie. Johnny's not exactly the bad guy the whole time. Like he's really trying to get his life back together. He's really trying to do everything he can to reestablish himself. And he even goes as far as, while he's still stuck in the 80s, he doesn't even know what Facebook is. At the beginning of it, he's still trying to help the little guy who's gotten his ass kicked and is trying to do something about it, so it's interesting. And it's a great take on the series, and even on the original movie, because obviously getting the same actors to play the roles, and I think they even got the mom to replay her, because they even show the mom from the movie, and then they show his mom later, and it looks like it's the same mom. Um, it just it's one of those shows that never should have been made, but they did it right. And even season two, which I have watched, I'm not really going to get into season two tonight, but even with that, like you're looking at it going, man, I don't know why I'm so entranced by this. I don't know why it's as good as it is, but the whole show is just really well done, and I commend them on that. Obviously, it used to be on YouTube Red. It has recently made the move over to Netflix, so anybody with Netflix can now watch it. I highly recommend it. First season's 10 episodes. I believe it's 30-minute episodes, so you can actually binge it in about, let's see, 5 hours. So I mean, if you've got a day where you're not doing anything, you'll probably be like me. By the second or third episode, you're just like, I'm getting through the whole thing. And like I said, I've now watched it twice for the first season. Probably going to watch season two, maybe not this week, but soon. And then obviously I'm awaiting season three, which has been filmed already, and even includes Daniel going back to Okinawa and dealing with something that he didn't know about Mr. Miyagi, apparently. So that's going to be cool and interesting to me as well. I hope they don't mess the series up. The first season, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but one of the characters ends up being Johnny's son, and he gets involved with LaRusso, and it just causes a lot of calamity between them, which I think is definitely something that made the gray areas even grayer. Michael has asked a question in the chat. He has asked, have you heard anything about Deadpool 3? Well, it depends on who you ask, because if you ask Rob Liefeld, he has gone on record as to say that he believes that there won't be a Deadpool 3. But if you talk to Ryan Reynolds says that Marvel is making headway on it, and they have some good ideas of where to go. Now, interestingly, on top of that, Michael, the young lady that played Vanessa in the first two movies, his love interest has apparently not been contacted by Marvel to reprise any roles. And as far as I know, Josh Brolin is attached to play Cable if and when they do decide to do anything with that. However, with the way Marvel is, I have to assume that Ryan Reynolds would not be recast, but I could totally see them just dumping him into the universe and having him break the fourth wall by saying, how did I get here? Oh crap, how do I get back? And not being able to. So I don't know anything really about Deadpool 3 at this point. I know that I want it. I know that I will go see it. I know that if Ryan Reynolds is involved with the writing team and they actually use the same guys that wrote the first two movies, I'm sure that they will come up with something that can either be in Marvel Universe canon that is just too funny and in its own little corner in that universe, kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or even any of the Netflix TV shows. But I more likely expect them to figure out a way to dump the X-Men universe into the Marvel universe, or it's always possible that they just keep them separate. You know, like they've kind of proved that while these characters are necessary to the overall branding and everything else, that they're not necessarily required to have, galaxy spanning series and movies. And they've obviously proved that with the Infinity War and Endgame movies. So it doesn't have to happen. I'd be more happy to see them figure out a way now that they own Predator and Alien to do a complete comic book series where they introduce them as the next big crossover event. I would love to see Alien versus the Marvel Universe. And in fact, I think that the way you launch that series is in the first 5 pages of it, you have them annihilate the entire brood, because obviously the brood were created as knockoffs of the xenomorphs, and this would be a way to dump the xenomorphs completely into the Marvel universe and just have them take over and really, really cement themselves as a threat and as a really cool way to do a story. I also think that and I know that you were asking about Deadpool 3, but I think that you know if we should get back into the comic side of it, I also think that what I would really like to see would be the Predator versus different Marvel characters. Like, could you imagine Predator versus Deadpool? Like, that would just be hilarious. Like the Predator would rip off his arm and be smacking him with it and not understanding why he can't kill this guy. Or Predator versus Punisher, and actually have Frank Castle go up against his completely like alien version of him. We got Chris in the chat. Chris says, especially with how separate the X books are under Hickman, the Empire crossover didn't even bring the mutants into the rest of the world. Yeah, so Chris, you're absolutely right. And if you notice, most crossovers don't. They very rarely cross different parts of the comics into each other. Chris also says, seems more likely they'd start them off on their own, like Guardians, and bring them in later. Yeah, very possibly. I mean, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they started very small. It also wouldn't surprise me if they brought the X-Men in as you have a Professor X character with a bunch of teenagers. That way maybe even you could have Spider-Man interact with them in the Sony side of the movies. It's very interesting because I think that at this point it'd be kind of cool to have something like a 16-year-old Cyclops and a 16-year-old Jean Grey interacting with the rest of the Marvel Universe characters. But you got to have the right writing team, you got to have the right directors involved to actually make it work, and you've got to, when you're talking about the movie side of that, that's that's Kevin Feige's gig, and he normally does pretty good with it. At the same time, in the comic side, I don't necessarily know if I want the X-Men really involved with any major Marvel crossovers besides X-Men crossovers like this Ten of Swords that's coming up. Because with Hickman overseeing the entire X-Men side of things, you don't necessarily want to be convoluted with Avengers and Fantastic Four. Like the X-Men Fantastic Four 4-issue series was fine. It was good. Wonderful art by the Dodsons. But that's touching upon a little bit of things that they need to, because Franklin and Valeria are mutants, but at the same time they're also parts of the Fantastic Four. So when you've got Professor X saying all mutants can come to the haven that is Krakoa, you've got to kind of touch upon that in different places. So knowing that that's something that they'll get to down the line would be interesting. Also be interesting to see if with the way that Franklin has been using his powers and losing his powers, if they were to clone him like they do all the other characters, whether or not Franklin would then have all of his powers back and not have the same issue going forward. But obviously that's something that Reed and Sue would have to agree to as well. But again, going back to my original statement, kind of offshooting what Michael was asking about when it comes to the like Deadpool movie and stuff, I would rather see what the comic side will do with characters like Predator and Alien. I would love if Marvel just said, we're really going to blow you away because we're going to do a universe-spanning crossover, Secret War style, but it's going to be about this alien race that has been long dormant and suddenly shows back up takes on and destroys the Brood in the first couple pages of the book, and immediately starts just infesting the rest of the universe, and that would be the Xenomorphs. I think that done correctly, it would just be awesome to see the Marvel universe having to fight back against acid bleeding, solid skin aliens. It would just be awesome. Maybe even you tie Ripley in somehow, like they find communications from Ripley from the first movie or something, and that's kind of what they start using to take down the Xenomorphs. I think that would be awesome. I think the idea of Wolverine versus Predator, or like I said, Punisher versus Predator, or Captain America versus Predator. Could you imagine that? That literally would be like the original Predator movie. It would be you would have some Captain America that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Chris Evans sitting there going up against a Predator. I mean, like, is there anything cooler than that kind of stuff? Wouldn't it even be cooler if you took the entirety of the Aliens versus Predator and made that the universe-spanning crossover over the entire Marvel universe? I mean, my head explodes just thinking about it. I don't know how you guys feel, but literally, my head explodes thinking about it. Like, people want something that would be a really big event that would make people have to buy comic books. And that is something that would make people have to buy comics. Hey, Shannon, how you doing? So I tend to think that would be the way that I would go. Make the stories great in comics so that people want to make those into movies. Obviously, with Disney owning all of it now, it is even something where you could come out with video games, movies, cartoons, whatever that you want to. But I just love the idea of a crossover that brings those characters in, because Marvel's already proven that they're willing to bring characters like Conan into the here and now. So why not characters that could live in the here and now actually being part of the here and now? That's the way I would go with it. I'm gonna change gears a little bit, and I'm gonna talk about a little bit more Marvel, but I'm gonna talk about Marvel's Avengers for both PlayStation, Xbox, and I believe PC. I just got done finishing the single player on it, and I loved it. I thought it was great. There were parts that were very challenging. There's some things that I don't fully understand about how they decided to do it all, but they've done some really cool stuff with it. Starting with the cast of characters that are already involved and their downloadable content idea that they've got going on. They've got the cast is Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, and Hulk. And then they also have Kamala Khan. It's no surprise that they've already basically talked about how the game starts, which is with A-Day, which is kind of like a celebration of the Avengers that goes haywire, goes wrong, and kind of causes all this craziness that really forces the Avengers to disband. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but let's just say that 5 years later, an interesting theme when it comes to Marvel stuff. 5 years later, but 5 years later, they start being put back together, knowing that there was some sort of conspiracy that broke them up, and from there you get different characters fighting different people. I did find it interesting that it really only seemed like there's one major character that you fight at the beginning and then one other major character that you fight at the end. And there's not really any major villains, at least not yet. And I have a feeling that we're going to see characters dropped in as part of the downloadable content and part of the storyline updates. But it really kind of surprised me that most of the characters are just your regular dilly-dally characters that it's like, oh, now they've put a shield on this guy, so he's going to take 3 times as long to beat. Oh, now this guy's got this, and it's going to take him this long to beat. Now, I mentioned that there were some things in the game that I didn't necessarily, and still don't necessarily understand why they did it this way, but the game has leveling. So your character has to get to certain levels before you're able to use certain skill points and certain things. So like a standardized role playing game. But then, like Destiny, you gather different equipment, and the different equipment then gives you higher boosts of your power, which then allows you to take on different missions that you weren't able to take on at the beginning. So I kind of understand it, except I don't understand why, like, I've got my Captain America at a 39 and my Hulk is at an 11. And is it only because I'm only playing as Captain America that I'm not getting drops of these other characters' items and things? Because if that's the case, I'm probably never going to go back through and play as those other characters because I'm obviously going to play as my favorite. I'm also going to play as the one that I have leveled up the most and don't really necessarily feel the need to go through and level up everybody else at the same time. That type of stuff to me just seems pointless, and it's creating replayability for replayability's sake, and not really creating true replayability like some of the other things do. You know, if you got bonus points for how you defeated a bad guy, or if you defeated, you know, they gave you specific things that you had to do to defeat those bad guys in certain ways, that may cause a different way for me to think about it. But otherwise, game is solid. Crystal Dynamics did terrific work. My buddy Taft actually worked on specific animation sequences in the game. Once again, blowing me away with his ability to animate and design and work with those characters. He worked on the scenes specifically that I know of that the Hulk runs after Kamala Khan on the Chimera, which like when you see the stuff, you can tell that Crystal Dynamics hired the right people to get these scenes animated and make it look cool. Sound wise, game's great. Visually, game's great. Here's what a lot of people are saying. They don't like the fact that the characters don't look like the movie characters, but guess what? They're not the movie characters. Like a comic book artist leaving the book and another comic book artist coming on the book, nobody draws them the exact same, and because of that, you don't have to have them look the same. I have no problems with Robert Downey Jr. not playing Tony Stark. Now, that said, I don't necessarily think Nolan North was the right casting choice to play Tony Stark. He's got the snarkiness, he's got the wit, he's got all that stuff. He's obviously played Deadpool in a video game at this point. He's obviously played Nate Drake and thousands of other characters. But there are probably other people that are out there that could have delivered the same performance and not done it by just sounding like Nolan North. And I love Nolan North. I think that he is a tremendous voice acting talent. He did a podcast spot for us for the Potsy and Turd show back in the day. I mean, he is a tremendous talent, but he didn't really push the range on it like he does on some of the other characters. It really did sound like Nate Drake in the Iron Man costume to me. So that there was that. I did like Captain America's voice. He had that strong that strong way of going. I like Laura Bailey as Black Widow. I even liked the girl that they cast as Kamala Khan. I thought that she did great. And interestingly enough, I thought it was weird. The Hulk casting for Bruce Banner sounded a lot like a softer Nolan North to me. So I wasn't exactly blown away by that either, but I thought that character worked better than necessarily the Tony Stark character. Would love your guys' opinions. If you haven't played the game, I think that the game is definitely worth picking up. I told Tino he needs to pick it up so that we can start playing and doing some strikes. We're playing on PS4. My PS4 name is Potsy, Potsy. Yes, it is only 5 letters, and yes, I have had tons of people actually try to get the name off of me, and I will not give it up. I got it on the first day that PlayStation Network was available. Did not make the same decision with Xbox, and feel kind of disappointed about that, even though I probably could have if I had signed up when or taken that name when I first signed up. anyways, that's really all I had to talk about tonight. I really wanted to talk about my feelings on the Avengers game. Really wanted to talk about my feelings on Cobra Kai season 1. Um, Tino and I will obviously be back tomorrow night. We're going to be doing it on StreamYard. He's got some stuff going on, so he's not going to be over the house tomorrow. But we will be broadcasting live 11:30 Eastern, as long as we get everything running the way that it's supposed to. Still having problems getting everything to show up on Twitch, YouTube, and everything. If you are late to the show, if you're looking at us on Facebook, go ahead and say hi, say bye, whatever. Wonderful having you. If you are on Twitch, please give a follow to the channel. I would love to hit affiliate status at some point. If you're watching on YouTube, please do me a favor, subscribe, like, comment, tell all your friends about it. If you want to see me do more of these, leave a comment that says that you want to see me actually talk about more stuff. Give me topics to talk about. I would be more than happy to talk about stuff. Michael, good chatting with you too, buddy. Sorry I haven't been out to Rocky Mount in a while. The way everything is with the world, we don't necessarily get the opportunity to do signings or anything like that. Will actually point out one last time tonight that my Indiegogo.com search junior high horrors. We do have a coloring book that's in its last 2 weeks of value to attempt to get fully funded. If it doesn't, we're probably going to have to make a decision on what to actually make for it, so that way we can make good on the people that actually did contribute to it. I appreciate you understanding that, Michael. Chris, I will wave, say goodbye to you as well. You will probably see me in the next couple days, since we work in the same area. And then, again, guys, on Facebook, go ahead and drop me some topics that you want me to talk about. YouTube, go ahead and put them in the comments so that I've got them to take a look at and know what's going on. I would love to talk to you guys more about the world of pop culture and what's going on with it. Like we didn't even talk about things like the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia pop vinyls that are coming, like the Dayman and Nightman ones. But all that stuff is fair game. If you want me to talk about it, I can research it, I can discuss it, and we can go forward with that. Otherwise, I hope to see everybody tomorrow night on the Potsy and Tino show, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. If we're late, it's all because of Restream and all of these programs that we use to pop everything up. But otherwise, look forward to seeing you. Hopefully everybody wants to make it to that show too. And obviously we talk pro wrestling and we talk about what's been going on with us, something I did not do tonight. So hopefully everybody had a fun time, and I will catch everybody tomorrow. All right. Thanks, everybody.